Hello and welcome to Guides.Global. My name is John Howell, and with me today I have Burak Orkun, who is a chartered accountant working in Bodrum in Turkey. Burak, thank you for coming.
Hello, John.
In this segment we're going to talk about taxes on property here in Turkey. And I want to look at this in two different parts. First of all, we have the taxes that you have to pay when you buy a property, and the second, the taxes you pay as you're the owner of a property. So let's look at buying. When you buy a property in Turkey, you have to pay really two or three different taxes, don't you? If you're going to sign a purchase contract in front of a notary, there is some stamp duty to pay.
Yes, there's stamp duty.
And how much is that roughly?
It's roughly 1%.
1% of the value of the property.
But you don't have to. It's an optional.
Exactly. Well, if you sign the document in front of the notary, you have to pay it, but you don't have to sign a document in front of a notary.
Yes.
You could go direct from
to the land registry office.
To a private agreement to the land registry office, in which case you don't pay that tax.
Yes.
Now, we have filmed a guide about how to buy a property in Turkey, and we deal at some length in that guide with when you should have the notarized contract and when you don't need it. But from a tax point of view, it is almost an optional tax.
Yes, optional.
Yes. So then, eventually, you go to the land registry and you take the title to your property, and then you have a tax that is not optional.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the property transfer tax.
Yes.
And how much is that?
It's 4% in total, but 2% belong to buyer, another 2 is to the seller.
Yeah, so it's a tax that's split, and you each pay part of it.
Yes.
And we say it's 4%, but the government has just given a little present, hasn't it?
Yes. For following 6 months, it's dropped 3%, 1.5 for each party.
And by strange coincidence, that is just the period of the elections.
As always.
So you're a very cynical person. You believe that the government always gives away something before the elections, and you expect it to go back to 4% after the elections.
Yes, always.
Yes. So I think for your planning purposes, dear viewers, then you should be thinking about 4%, and if you get a bonus and it's only 3%, count yourselves lucky. That tax is paid at the time you take your title deed.
Yes.
And you have a very clever way of paying this, don't you? A very, very modern way of doing it, in that you can pay it through an ATM at the land registry.
Yeah, once you apply to the land registry, you receive a text message saying how much and which ATM you should go and pay.
Yes.
Then you pay, get the receipt, go back to the land registry, which is usually just the corner of the land registry.
This is 100 years ahead of many countries.
Yeah.
But anyway, you have to pay the tax. That's a digression. So, and that's the only, they're the only taxes. Stamp duty and land registry, stamp duty and transfer tax are the only taxes you have to pay when you buy a property in Turkey. Of course, there are a few other things you have to pay, some fees, legal fees, land registry fees and so on, but the main things are these two taxes. Yeah,
but also if you are buying a property from developer, you are also paying VAT.
Ah, yes.
But it's always including the price in Turkey.
You're paying it, but you don't know you're paying it because it's hidden.
You don't know how much you are paying, but it's included.
Yes, and how much is that? 1%?
1% up to 150 square meter.
Yes.
Houses, just houses.
Yes.
And
but not apartments.
Apartments, if it's a touristic apartments, no.
Yes. If it's a residential
apartments, yes.
Okay. So that's one. Sorry, I interrupted you. Up to 150 square meters, 1%.
It's goes to 18.
And then 18% after that.
So general rate.
You want about a small house there.
Yes.
And at the moment, it is tax-free for foreigners.
Tax-free for non-residents.
Yes.
Even Turkish citizens, non-resident.
So anyone who's not resident in Turkey right now pay tax-free.
VAT-free.
VAT-free, yes.
VAT-free,
yes. Which is worth having.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as the taxes on buying a property are concerned, that's about it. But you also have taxes as the owner of a property here in Turkey. And let's talk a little bit about those. What tax do you have to pay
Regular council tax.
Council
you are
tax.
paying to the municipality. Yeah.
And this is what pays for your schools and roads and garbage collection and everything else.
Yes, for their services.
And how is that tax calculated?
It's calculated over a municipal tax rate of your property.
Yes. And so the municipality fixes a tax value for your property.
Yes.
And then they charge you a percentage tax on that value.
Yes.
And that tax value, is that usually as big as the value of the property, or is it smaller than the value of the property?
Always lower than the real value.
So, to give an example, if I bought a property in Bodrum for 1 million Turkish lira, how much would the tax value be likely to be?
Half of that amount, yeah.
And then you would pay tax on that 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
What would the percentage tax be?
The rate is 1%.
Yes.
If it is in the metropolitan area, it's 2%.
So if I had a property in the centre of Bodrum, I'd pay 2% tax on 500,000 for my 1 million Turkish lira property. But if I was living 20 kilometres outside Bodrum, it would just be 1%.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other taxes you have to pay as the owner of a property in Turkey?
No, that's all.
Okay. So, pretty straightforward, really.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Burak.
You're welcome.
We hope you found that useful. If you did, please like this video or follow this channel. Burak has contributed to our book, How Things Really Work in Turkey, and you might want to get a copy of that from the website. And he's also written a much longer guide to taxes here in Turkey, where we give details and percentages and at what point you have to pay more tax than at others. And that's available for download, again, from www.guides.global. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye.